Yeah, I'm at my business or something. Do I look like I bother these things over here? I don't even holler at these chicks or something. I dodge them like a fucking lightning bolt into my office, especially. And then with you, the cops over here, the niggas over here will go off and like be all up in my bank account and all that shit from the top. What's up? Every time, what do you think I always talk about? My technology and my system over here. That's all I ever talk about. My company into my office, and then with you, the older losers we have will go off and find a whole bunch of like pedophiles around the fucking space here that are fucking like underage girls within the high school that are putting them over the internet, and then with you going out to like cause a problem with like homeland security because of the children, the kids that they use here go off and like sell drugs and like pimp out some of the hoes, especially on that like in high school. For like other crackheads that are older than them, especially out to then go off and like do other shit on the fucking space. Yeah, so somewhere the fucking losers over here. I don't know. There's a contradiction somewhere inside the national security system when it comes to like child protection laws and foreign spy groups that come too. Because you know the big groups themselves with like their own special team, the retired groups, will go off and like carry off into like new ventures and new capital system on the special with billionaires. So you know they have a spy group in there that go off and counter certain things, but at the same time they have alliances to go off and move money and launder the funds by the billions. Because the fact that what they're laundering is not money. What they're laundering is resources across the U.S. The reason why they get into a fight is because of the fact that you have a natural resource that you call the American resource on, especially where they have an inventory and they try to offload it and sell it. So the only way they can do that, especially and stay competitive inside the American market, is by protecting themselves and then which is somewhat selecting some politicians to then go off like protect their resource and making sure that America comes in first. So once America is first, into morphing special, and they're able to like somewhat redo resources on the systems and that, yeah, they get to protect themselves with certain laws that go off and make sure that it's like a cartel, but at the same time, because of the fact that they're fairly as like national people, they're able to protect their resources and then go off and like somewhat make sure that foreign groups cannot just come through and move their resource and like cause certain problems on. Especially a good example would be like how they have certain restriction to make sure that if a group like the Chinese come to inside the United States, they cannot go off and like randomly dump Chinese resources like tofu, like Greg tofu, inside some of the buildings, and then go off and apply their format inside the American space. So they have to go off and apply towards a certain format. Because most people do know that, so they have to apply to the inch. Those things are on the space that's to safety standard. And when they do that here, they always complain that the price tag for that is too high because the minimum wage itself, the same people that tell you that the high school or the university student over here, when they get out, cannot find a job into morphing specifically. Right. So in that space itself, apparently the minimum wage is too high. And I'm not sure what the minimum wages are in Nevada for like a McDonald's. It might be like $15 an hour. That's too high to the standard because of the fact that in the space here they get the minimum wage for like $3 or $2 an hour inside their own space for the same type of like work that you're doing around the space. But at the same time they cannot afford the technical talent that the Americans have. And that's way to like the way they design their and the equipment and the safety system over here, which they don't have in their own space. Yeah, so they don't have things like harness or like things like other systems that are like tough to produce or manufacture because of the very few that's involved into it, especially outside. So somewhere that space itself will go off for like make too much money off like safety equipment or things that's way to like the resource that they own nationally inside their own space. So when they bring the others over, that's why they go off and they do into like human smuggling, and that's why they do operations to go off and move resources by the tons that go off and undercut the American price market. A good example is the Circuit City that we have with the electronics and the system itself. So why Dell and Intel and Gateway are like somewhat pushing to go off and like put their own resource into action to go off and like, sell computers to the American market, another group will go off and steal the trade secret and then go all around and undercut them and then bring the resource back into their own space here and then kill them. So immediately they let them do the hard work and then eventually they chop off their head and then they take the stuff over. That's the game over here. So you let somebody do the hard work, chop off their head, and then you bring somebody else that's cheaper with the space here to go off and take over the market over and over and over again. And then eventually that's where we get into a fight with like the American first policy on the space here, because the dudes in America that are putting the hard work to go off and like mine the resource and like the gold, the copper, all that stuff like that. And then it's doing the American infrastructure, the roads, and like the electrical system, all that stuff like that. They were getting robbed by foreign groups around the space. Even the military were getting robbed by the foreign groups around the space. So that's pretty much why America is currently engaged into like a weird warfare that's like mad war inside the Peruvian political system over here. That's where it's like making sure you get paid first, and the other people do not go off and like taking money around, especially the same way that they almost killed my company by going off to like rob my company for me before I can even produce it and stuff. Yeah, so 5 years directly. So they've been aggressive into my first year. Not understanding that they get the bosses by the balls. Yeah, inside of a car. So I put it that way over here. Originally back in 2021, it was a private tech company. Yeah, and that's it. That's all. And I determined that's $25 million as a project. And I was satisfied with life. Quit the job, graduated, gone, zoom, into my office. Then once I got to realize that they hit me up with like a constitutional right violation, unusual punishment, privacy right violation, and then monetization, like the unusual punishment that they record illegally around. Especially I determined that's 25 million. And then coincidentally, I was just like, you're just invest into the stock over here, like a regular stock, and then eventually that's like $50 million itself. So I got 50, 25, and then eventually over there, yeah, it developed into multiple different products and systems. That's about $150 million. So I'm already set for life into Morphin specifically, but I don't know what that is over here. That's how I try to figure out, but we're going to figure out together inside of a class. That's how. Yeah, because apparently that shit is going to make me rich beyond if you can imagine. I tell you, I avoid the Sunday American hoes around, especially I saw some of the losers on the space that like snitches for the feds or something, because apparently you didn't know these were some of the niggas that the feds had put into like the internet. Yeah, to go off and install spyware and malware, and then be able to like go off and like steal from other people. Yeah, they act as snitches and stuff like that. No, so again, the problem that they had was the American First policy. Yeah, and eventually they got hit with like deportation on the special side. Right, so I can't help them out with that. So I said all men for themselves, and then I just got lucky. Yeah, I just got lucky that I got my passport first. I protected myself. Yeah, and then one about my first. Cause I said I didn't tell none of these losers on these widows to go off and like participate into like politics, and then politics hit them up because they didn't know what real politics was about. Inside the money domain and the war domain, and like the dudes were literally blowing up each other inside the corporate system of them. Corporate warfare involved explosives and sabotage around, especially. Yeah, so these are the young and experienced corporate warfare dudes that they hired on the left side that lost them the election. And by the time they were done over here, they became so sour into my offense. I don't know, man. I didn't vote this election, didn't participate into it. I didn't pick no side around, especially. I rejected these dudes because of the fact that they're somewhat inferior to me inside of the intellectualism. I went about my first into my offense, especially. By the time I was done over here, I said I don't have nothing to do with the deportation system. Other stuff around, especially. The Americans voted for it because of things that's like related to like competition. I said again, yeah, I'm just going about my first. All these dudes and these chicks do to go off and showcase their low intelligence, just copy me over and over and over again. We're not friends, so I don't flirt with these dudes. I never told them to like flirt with me into morphing, especially. I say in the domain of libertarianism and like other things that's related to like the freedom of speech and like the foundation of like the press, other things around here. That's how I don't participate into like the other side of here. That's related to like communism or whatever dictatorship on the space. Okay, why they look like this in the United States. Back in the space, they're underneath a dictatorship. They'll go off for like be a tyrant inside their own government. They'll go off and hang their own people for like even dissing the leader of that system itself. They don't misbehave inside their own system. They get a rude awakening from their own military men. They'll go off and press them, and they abuse the system to go off and exploit them on the space. So I just go on by my first. I don't flirt, don't associate. I don't want nothing to do with none of these police like communists or none of these dudes around the space. I don't even look at the hoes around, so I just stay focused into my business. All these hoes and all these niggas come out to like go off and be around me and go off and fabricate a fake story. It's just like so weird to go off and see lame ass hoes come up and like go off and try to showcase their asses. I don't even look at some of these chicks. So I'm just going about my first massacre. I tell you, all these people for other reason are somewhat losing somewhere. Yeah, it's the justice system apparently because of the fact that I don't know somewhere there's a competition for money. So I tried to find a dude on World Star Hip Hop that lost the $50 million. Or like I think how much money did he lose? Like $500 million. Yeah, he lost like $50 million to a scam, and then right next to him there was like a black chick or something, and then he was on World Star Hip Hop. That was the dudes that voted for Trump. Just to go off and get at the other dudes over here that was stealing the money and like moving overseas. But at the same time, I said I don't want to do nothing. So I know this people over here myself. It is like so weird that I could go off and like start building the early prototype of my system in my company, and my stuff is being leaked out for free by like a whole bunch of like communist teachers and like losers from like the South Con Command. That's like mad dumb myself.